Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you a story called The Younger Sister Marrying in Place of the Elder Sister. During the Ming Dynasty, there was a grand academician named Mao Ji in Yi County. Mao Ji came from a humble background, as his father supported the family by herding cattle for others. At that time, there was also a prominent family in the county, whose head, Zhang, had built a new tomb for their deceased elder on the southern foothills of Dongshan. One day, as someone passed by the Zhang family's tomb, they heard a voice from within chastising them, saying, "Hurry up and move away, don't disturb the original owner's residence." The person reported this to Zhang, but he did not believe it at first. However, Zhang began to receive warnings in his dreams, with the voice saying, "Your family's new burial ground was originally the cemetery of Mr. Mao. How can you occupy it for so long?" Subsequently, misfortunes befell the Zhang family. Friends advised Zhang to relocate the new tomb elsewhere, and finally, he accepted their advice and moved the tomb. Once, when Mao Ji's father was herding cattle, he passed by the original tomb of the Zhang family. Suddenly, a heavy rain began to pour, forcing him to seek shelter in the abandoned tomb. Before long, the rain intensified, causing water to rush into the tomb, and Mao's father tragically drowned in the rising water. At that time, Mao Ji was still a child. Mao's mother had no choice but to personally seek out Zhang, hoping to find a place to bury her husband. When Zhang learned the surname of the deceased, he was greatly surprised. Upon inspecting the site where Mao's father had drowned, he realized it was the very place where his ancestors had once laid coffins, which filled him with even greater horror. Consequently, Zhang allowed Mao's father to be buried in the tomb of his own ancestors and invited Mao's mother to bring Mao Ji to visit. After the burial, Mao's mother and Mao Ji went to thank Zhang. Upon seeing Mao Ji, Zhang was delighted and decided to keep him in his home, even teaching him to read and treating him like his own son. Zhang also proposed marrying his eldest daughter to Mao Ji, which initially frightened Mao's mother. However, Zhang's wife reassured her, saying, "Since my husband has already spoken, he will not go back on his word." In the end, Mao's mother agreed wholeheartedly. However, Zhang's eldest daughter looked down on the Mao family. She often displayed her dislike and resentment for the situation in her expressions and words. Whenever someone mentioned the Mao family in her presence, she would cover her ears and refuse to listen. She often told others, "Even if I die, I will never marry the son of a cattle herder." Later, when the two were holding their wedding ceremony, with the groom seated at the banquet and the bridal sedan chair parked at the door, the eldest daughter covered her face with her sleeve and wept in a corner. Despite the maids urging her to dress up, she refused, and their attempts to persuade her were in vain. After a while, when the groom proposed to take the bride home, music played in the hall, but the eldest daughter remained in the inner room with her hair disheveled, weeping uncontrollably. Zhang asked the groom to wait a while longer and personally went into the room to persuade his daughter, but she continued to cry, ignoring his words. Angrily, Zhang forced his daughter into the sedan chair, but she cried even harder, leaving Zhang feeling helpless. At that moment, a servant came to the inner chamber and relayed the message. The groom is about to leave. Zhang hurriedly came out and told the groom. My daughter has not finished dressing yet, please wait a moment longer. Then, he rushed back into the inner room to persuade his daughter once again. Despite his repeated attempts, the eldest daughter remained unrelenting. Zhang was at a loss, feeling anxious and desperate, even contemplating suicide. Seeing this, the younger daughter felt that her sister was in the wrong and joined her father in pleading with her. The eldest daughter angrily retorted, "You little brat, meddling in others' business. Why don't you marry him yourself?" The younger daughter replied calmly, "Father never promised to marry me to Mao Ji. If he did, why would my sister need to persuade me to get into the sedan chair?" Hearing her daughter's straightforward words, Zhang secretly discussed with his wife and decided to let the younger daughter marry into the Mao family instead of the elder one. Zhang's wife immediately asked the younger daughter, "That disobedient girl doesn't listen to her parents. Now we want you to take her place. Will you agree?" Without hesitation, the younger daughter replied, "If my parents ask me to marry, even if it's to a beggar, I dare not refuse. Besides, who's to say Mao Ji will ultimately starve to death?" Delighted by her response, the parents quickly dressed the younger daughter in the elder daughter's wedding attire and hurriedly sent her off in the carriage. After the younger daughter entered the groom's home, the couple's relationship was very harmonious. However, the younger daughter had always had sparse hair since childhood, which Mao Ji sometimes regretted. As time passed, he came to realize that the woman he married was not the eldest daughter of the Zhang family. It was actually the younger daughter who had replaced her sister to spare their father from embarrassment. Therefore, he regarded his wife even more as a confidant and felt grateful to her. Some time later, Mao Ji passed the examination for the position of Zhai and was preparing to participate in the upcoming provincial examination. He passed by the Wang family inn. Unexpectedly, the innkeeper had dreamed of a deity the night before. The deity told the innkeeper, "Tomorrow, a guest surnamed Mao will come from the east to stay at your inn. He is the one who will help you overcome your troubles in the future." The next morning, the innkeeper specifically looked out for guests coming from the east. When he saw Mao Ji, the innkeeper was overjoyed and provided him with extremely sumptuous food and drink, refusing to accept any payment. The innkeeper solemnly told Mao Ji about the prophecy he had dreamed of the night before and asked him to help him when he encountered trouble. Mao Ji promised him. Mao Ji was somewhat conceited. He often secretly thought, "My wife's sparse hair looked unattractive. If I become an official in the future, my colleagues will definitely laugh at me behind my back when they see my wife. When I become wealthy and prosperous, I should remarry another wife." Later, after the provincial examination ended, Mao Ji unexpectedly failed. He sighed with regret, walked with heavy steps, feeling frustrated, disheartened, and disappointed. Feeling ashamed, Mao Ji was too embarrassed to visit the innkeeper and dared not pass by the Wang family inn, so he had to take a different route home. 3 years later, Mao Ji participated in the provincial examination again. Passing by the Wang family inn, the innkeeper still greeted Mao Ji as warmly as before. Mao Ji said to the innkeeper, "It seems that your previous words did not come true. 3 years ago, I received your hospitality but could not repay it. I feel guilty." The innkeeper replied, "It was your previous thoughts of remarrying that caused the underworld officials to cancel your good fortune. This does not mean that my previous dream cannot come true." Shocked by these words, Mao Ji asked the innkeeper why he said that. The innkeeper then told him everything. It turned out that after parting with Mao Ji, the innkeeper had another dream in which a deity revealed everything to him. Hearing this, Mao Ji was awakened with a sense of shame and regret. He stood there dumbfounded, like a puppet. The innkeeper told Mao Ji, "Mr. Mao, you should cherish yourself. Good fortune will come back to you." Soon after, Mao Ji indeed ranked first in the provincial examination. Moreover, Mao Ji's wife's hair slowly began to grow back, her jet black hair shining like clouds, adding a touch of charm to her appearance. As for the eldest daughter of the Zhang family, she later married the son of a wealthy man in the town and was proud of it. However, her husband was dissolute and lazy, and their family gradually fell into poverty. Their house became empty, and they couldn't even afford to buy groceries. Hearing that her younger sister had become the wife of a juran, she felt even more ashamed and deliberately avoided her sister when walking. Not long after, the eldest daughter's husband passed away, and their family's fortunes declined further. Coincidentally, at this time, Mao Ji passed the imperial examination and became an official. Upon hearing this news, the eldest daughter bitterly regretted her actions, so she angrily became a nun. When Mao Ji returned home as a high-ranking official, the eldest daughter reluctantly sent an unshaven female disciple to Mao's residence to greet him, hoping that her sister would give her some money. The female disciple went to Mao's residence, where Mrs. Mao gave her several pieces of fine silk and satin, with a large sum of silver hidden inside. However, she did not reveal the hidden silver to the female disciple. The female disciple brought back the gifts from Mrs. Mao to her master. Disappointed, the master grumbled, "If she had given me money, I could have bought provisions. Silks and satins are of no use to me. What do I need them for?" So, the eldest daughter of the Zhang family ordered the silk and satin to be returned. Mao Ji and his wife were puzzled by this gesture. When they opened the package and found the silver untouched, they realized that the eldest daughter of the Zhang family had not looked at the gifts they sent. So they took out some money and, smiling, said to the female disciple, "It seems that your master cannot even handle the fortune of over 100 taels of silver. Giving her more money might not be a good idea after all." With that, Mrs. Mao handed 50 taels of silver to the female disciple and said, "Take this to cover your master's expenses." Giving her too much might burden her with misfortune. The female disciple returned to the temple and told her master about what had happened. Upon hearing this, the eldest daughter of the Zhang family fell silent, overwhelmed with emotion. Reflecting on her life, she realized she had always acted contrary to what was right. Whenever there was good fortune, she avoided it. Whenever there was calamity, she approached it. Perhaps this was fate after all. Later, the innkeeper of the Wang family inn was arrested and imprisoned for a murder case. Mao Ji made every effort to find evidence to exonerate him, and eventually, the innkeeper was acquitted of all charges. At the end of the story, the author provides a commentary. He says, the ancestral tomb of the Mao family ended up burying members of the Zhang family, while the old tomb of the Zhang family became the new tomb of the Mao family. This is truly remarkable. I've also heard jokes about how an older brother-in-law eventually becomes a younger brother-in-law. It just shows that even the smartest person can't predict what will happen in the future. Oh my! The heavens are so far from us, and there are things beyond the understanding of us mortals. But why did Mr. Mao Ji receive such revelations? Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tale. The younger sister marrying in place of the elder sister. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.